How's it going, everyone? Tuga here, back again with some more NHL 16 and my Boston Bruins GM mode. Now, in the last episode, we made a lot of changes and we started to turn the corner early on in the season, acquiring Joe Thornton and Radim Vrbata, along with a bunch of other depth players that have really helped bolster our starting lineup. Now, a couple of quick things I wanted to address, and actually it's your comments or the comments that were left on the previous video, and to those that did leave a comment, I thank you very much, and we'll address a couple of these individually. Now, as you can see here first with the lines, these are the lines we're going to be going with, and again, I'll explain all this in a second. The first comment though, switch Thornton and Spooner. Thornton has a better face-off rating. I'll take a look here. Joe Thornton at an 85, as you can see under the defensive category. We'll go down to Ryan Spooner, and spoiler alert, it is also an 85, so one doesn't really make too much of a difference, but I'd rather have Joe Thornton up on that top line. I'm going to go out of order here, focus on player roles, not chemistry. I'm hesitant to do that. We did that in the first season with the likes of, having Brad Marchand, having Louis Eriksson, having Chara Seidenberg, and all that. And this team faltered horrendously. It's kind of pressed by you guys in the comments to make this, make another run with this team. So I'm going to do that. And that goes along with the second part, or technically now, the third part of this comment. Trade for a better D-man. You have 3 great prospects. That we do. But if we're going to give up one of those prospects, I want to make sure this team can actually succeed. So we're going to see how well this team does, and as we approach the trade deadline, as we approach the All-Star break around that time, if we're in a good spot, absolutely we'll trade one of those defensemen. I have a couple of people in mind as it is, but until that point, I'm not really eager to give up one of our 3 defensemen. We do have an amazing prospect pool. Another quick thing, will you be giving Joe Thornton the old number 6? I was going to give him 19, but we'll give him number 6 for now. The next comment, you are absolutely right. As I said, I was ill, and that's not a good enough excuse. That's completely embarrassing, but I left it in there. You're absolutely right about two-way deals not being waiver free. I still can't believe I said that, but hey, I left it in the video and I'll own up to my mistake. Penultimate comment here, Tyler Ennis, Patrick Hornqvist, or maybe even Evander Kane. Here's the deal. Tyler Ennis and Evander Kane, that's not going to happen. I refuse. I outright refuse. And if you guys stick along with me here on YouTube, you'll find out I hate trading within the division. I hate trading within the conference. I don't see the point of giving up. Say we were to trade for Patrick Hornqvist, that's at least a little bit better to send a high prospect to Pittsburgh to get him, rather than say, oh, let's trade David Pastrnak for Evander Kane, and then Pastrnak just lights us up for the next 10 years. So I am certainly looking at another forward we could potentially do. As I said, with defensemen, I'm going to wait and see how this team can do for now. Which brings me to the last comment. Trade Kokochev and use Zarnik. Now here's the deal. Again, this was going to be a rebuilding team, but acquiring Thornton and Vrbata, it's a risk. We've already given up some assets. However, we do still have some assets we could really use to begin with. Now, ideally, what I like to do is keep my top 2 lines as my skill lines, third line kind of a defensive shutdown line that can still be, an offensive contributor, and then the fourth line also being defensive but more of a grind line style. So the problem with that is we only have 6 spots, as well as having certain players that don't really fit the mold gelling and having that work with our team thus far. So essentially, just to keep things short, if we fail, we're trading Thornton, we're trading Vrbata, we're trading Michael Bodker, and we're going to get Kokochev, we're going to get Zarnik, we're going to get Pastrnak into this lineup. We're going to get these young guys. I'm not exactly afraid to play people out of position. Simply put, if we didn't, we'd have to trade Zarnik, we'd have to trade Kokochev, because Bergeron and Krejci are going to be on this team for essentially the duration of this GM mode, just based on their contracts that they start with. So I'm going to stop rambling on with this. Bottom line, we're going to go with the team we have now. If we're in a playoff spot as we approach the trade deadline, we will trade certain pieces to make this team even better, particularly stronger with our defense. I don't want to make too many moves now because this team is gelling, and really I don't want to essentially mess up the morale system. So far, we actually have a winning record going with the morale system as opposed to playing people where they're actually meant to play. Whether or not this works in the long run, I'm not sure. I'll change it up mid-season if I have to. We're going to sim these first 2 games with Rask and Net. We'll give McIntyre the start against Edmonton. We're going to keep McIntyre here for now and just see how he does. Again, he is one of those pieces we could potentially move. And honestly, I don't know if he or Subban will really be with this team in the long run because we do have Tuukka Rask. But Rask gets the first 2 starts. We'll put in McIntyre. Rask will come back in against Florida, and we will sim up to the 11th before that game and show you guys how it's gone. So it hasn't been the best start to the month of December. We get blown out against the Islanders 4-0. Come back with a 3-2 win against Anaheim, a 3-2 loss against the Edmonton Oilers. McIntyre in net for that one, and Tuukka Rask gets us a shootout win in Florida. Now we have another back-to-back, and honestly, I think I'm just going to sim the rest of this month here rather than taking it slowly. I'm going to take a quick look at the rosters after that, and honestly, we'll just see where we stand. Well, I showed in this episode earlier that I'm not afraid to admit that I made a mistake. And honestly, I may have made a mistake. You can see the first game that we continued the sim, back-to-back losses against Florida, San Jose. That would continue a shootout loss against Arizona, a loss against Columbus. We bounced back a little bit with wins over Pittsburgh and Colorado, then 2 more straight losses to Minnesota and Montreal. We finish off the month a little bit strong with 2 wins and an overtime loss. So currently, we have a 19-16-3 record. Definitely not where we want it. But what we're going to do now, I'm going to switch up these lines. We're going to go with playing people where they should play. You know, hypothetically. So essentially, Jason Chimera is going back down to the 4th line. We'll see how the rest of this month goes up until the All-Star break. And then that's pretty much going to be the make or break decision time. The trade deadline is not until the end of February, but we'll see how this team does. I will show you the lines, then we will sim up to the All-Star break and see where we stand. Alright guys, so here's the deal. Shockingly, we are in a playoff spot. We have the first wild card spot secured, only 3 points back of Buffalo for that 3rd Atlantic Division spot. Here are the lines we're going to roll with. Thornton, Krejci, Vrbata is going to remain the top line. They've been working together relatively well. Krejci's been a massive disappointment so far this season, though. Michael Bodker coming from the 3rd line back up to the 2nd to work with Bergeron and David Jones. Now, again, I am going with more of a where you project them to be kind of spot, but David Jones has been working together really well with Bergeron. Matt Reed up to the 3rd line. Kokochev and Calvert replace Spooner and Griffith, who have been struggling. Calvert, again, down a couple of overall points due to the morale system. And then the 4th line, we have Chimera, Boyle, and Clutterbuck. Boyle and Clutterbuck have been tearing it up on that 4th line. 6 goals and 8 assists, and 6 goals and 3 assists. Doesn't seem like much, but for 4th liners, that's exactly what we're looking for. Defensively, Torrey Krug and Luke Shen are back together. Joe Morrow replaces Zach Trotman, who's been an absolute disaster. Jason Demers as well has been a tremendous disappointment. As you can see, only 10 points, and he's a minus 18. Just absolutely abysmal. And then Matt Irwin with Kevin Miller on the 3rd line. I think I forgot to show the lines at one point, but they've, ever since I started this specific sim, boy, English is tough. They've been a 3rd line pairing, and they've been doing pretty well. Not the biggest point producers, but they're holding it down, and that's exactly what you need out of your 3rd line pairing. So let's get back into the sim. We're going to the All-Star break, and let's see now if this team is worth keeping together like this. Again, I have no hesitation in getting rid of Thornton, Vrbata, and Bodker, and getting the guys like Kokochev, Sarnik, and Pasternak that 1st and 2nd line time. Yes, they can be traded away for good potential players, but also they still have the potentials themselves to grow into those top players. So that's really the debate right now. Do we trade these guys to get people who are already at that level, or do we sit and wait with these guys like Kokochev and Zarnik? Do we wait until they progress to what we want them to be and have it be a true rebuild? Let's find out, though, what direction we're going towards. Let's sim to the All-Star break. Well, guys, the lineup changes have absolutely worked. Look at this record for the month of January. We start off with a 3-1 win against Chicago, 3-2 Carolina, 5-1 New Jersey, and then we suffer our only regulation loss of this month thus far, a 5-4 loss to San Jose. There was a shootout loss to Arizona to follow it up, so again, we drop a point there. But an overtime win against Vancouver, Winnipeg, Columbus, and then a big win over the Tampa Bay Lightning. We are on fire right now, a 26-17-4 record. And as you can see, I don't even have to go into it. We are currently 3rd in the Atlantic Division. We are really close with Buffalo, but we currently have a playoff spot. Well guys, we're actually going to make this a bit longer of an episode. You know what? Screw it. We're going to sim all the way up until the trade deadline. Now, there's a lot of time in between there. Right now, the main problem is certain players, particularly Spooner and Griffith, being a little bit pissed that they've been scratched. And really, that was my concern in terms of if this team does well, a lot of our trade pieces will affect team morale, but it will make our team better in the long run. So here we go. The final stretch. We're going to sim all the way up until, you know what, since trades are immediate, we're going to sim all the way up until March 2nd. At that point, we'll make the decision of what we are going to do, and in the next episode, we will make the trades and push our way, hopefully, towards the playoffs from that point. So there's a lot of games to go, but let's see what happens. Will this team be in a playoff spot right before the trade deadline? Well guys, the simulation is done, and I hate to say it, but I just truly don't know if this team has what it takes. Even with a couple of acquisitions, I just don't see this team turning the corner. As you can see, we started off with a 4-game losing streak, a shootout loss in Pittsburgh, but still a loss nonetheless. A win against the New York Islanders, then we get into the month of February. Nice 3-game winning streak, then a 3-game losing streak, win, loss, win, 2 losses in a row, and a win against Montreal brings us to this point, a 32-26-5 record. As you can see, we are not in the top 3. It is close. We'll take a look here. It is pretty close. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I feel comfortable trading away big prospects for a shot at just making the playoffs. As you can see right now, it's 70 points in the Atlantic, and what is it on the other side? All right, so it's 70 points. 70 points to make the playoffs. So we're 1 point out of a playoff spot. However, we have 3 games at hand over the Florida Panthers and the Buffalo Sabres. So they're going to expand their lead. There's no way they don't. We'll take a quick look at the team as we always do, and again, Tuukka Rask doing very well. A 224 goals against, a 930 save percentage. Zane McIntyre starting to turn the corner a little bit, a 275 goals against, but only a 903 save percentage. Not exactly horrendous numbers for a backup. We switched over to the AHL though. Malcolm Subban still tearing it up, a 203 goals against, a 925 save percentage. He's up to an 82 overall. So perhaps, and really, all right, this is tough because I'm leaving it up to you guys again. My gut says go with the rebuild. We have so many talented prospects here. My gut just says go with the rebuild, but I'm not the one that drives. I'm not the one that can, I can't give myself views here. I can't give myself feedback. I need you guys, and I want you guys to make the decision. What do we do with this team? Do we blow it up and go with the youth we already have, or do we trade away some of these pieces and get even stronger now as opposed to stronger in the future? Really, that starts with goaltending. Ludovic Weber is making great progress despite not playing. He's already up to a 78. He is designated as a minor starting goalie. Perhaps if we decide to blow it up, we trade away McIntyre, we trade away Subban and call Weber up immediately. Honestly, we could go with any of the 3 goaltenders. Subban's probably doing the best and is probably most worthy of being in the NHL right now. It's just the waiver issue that we have to deal with, not being able to send down McIntyre. So what should we do again with goaltenders? It's a big decision. If we decide to blow it up, maybe we even look at trading Tuukka Rask, who is absolutely on fire, and we roll with McIntyre or Subban. I'm up for pretty much anything at this point. What makes the most sense though is probably keep Rask, trade McIntyre or Subban, or perhaps both, regardless of whether or not we decide to blow it up or not. Looking over at defense, and again, it's not too bad. Torrey Krug's leading the way. He's our best defenseman. He's a -4. If we decide to go for it and go for the cup, the number one objective is to get Torrey Krug a proper partner. He's up to an 87 overall. Jason Demers, despite being at an 86, he's a -20. No matter who we've put him with it hasn't worked out. So perhaps one way or the other, whether we blow it up or go for it, we trade him anyway. Perhaps we keep him. Let me know what we should do with Jason Demers. Matt Irwin up to an 82. He's not doing too bad, a +8. He's just kind of hanging in there, being a stable third line defenseman, which is what we need. Luke Schenn not doing too bad, playing with Torrey Krug, but perhaps he should be more of a second pairing guy. Joe Morrow, who's gotten some games recently, not doing too bad. He's playing on the second line, but he is more of a third line guy. Kevin Miller has found a good partnership with Matt Irwin. He's doing all right. And then again, Zach Trotman, yes, he's still at a -12. He's just been absolutely abysmal. What should we do with him? Should we send him down, hope somebody claims him, or hope he actually gets down to the AHL? Or should we trade him? What should we do with all of those decisions? And then in the AHL, we have a couple of guys who are potentially ready. Linus Arneson, a 79 overall, 15 points, a +15. And again, from there it goes down. Wickstrand, though, has made tremendous progress. He's up to a 77. Tommy Cross up to a 76. The Providence Bruins are ripping it up and very well could contend for a Calder Cup for the second year in a row. Jared Houff up to a 72. Obviously, he's not really in a position to be called up, but he's doing amazing. Colin Miller at a 77. Brennan Carlo at a 73 again. Not really in position. What should we do with the defense? Again, the first question is blow up or trade out and try and get this team even better. Blow up, compete for the cup. If we blow up, Linus Arneson, Wickstrand, Cross, Miller could easily be called up to the NHL roster. Let me know what we should do there. Right wing and Radim Vrbata has been pretty damn good for us, up to an 86 overall, 44 points on the year. David Jones, 26 points, playing with Patrice Bergeron on the second line. He's projected for over a 30-point season. That's not too bad. Cal Clutterbuck on the fourth line, 19 points. We have Seth Griffith with 16 points. He just really hasn't panned out. If he was playing on the second line where he should, he'd probably be at least a 30-point guy. Again, he's dropped 3 overall points. And then in the AHL, all of our guys are just tearing it up. Brian Ferlin, right now, 35 points as a 77 overall guy. He's looking like he could make the jump if we decide to blow this team up. David Pasternak, 27 points in 44 games, not too bad. He really should be in the NHL, but after the acquisition of Vrbata and Thornton, doesn't really make too much sense. Tyler Randall, 23 points. He would be a fourth liner, but again, he's looking ready if we tried to offload, say, Clutterbuck or someone like that, and potentially get a draft pick there. And then, of course, Gibbons and Hanowski barely playing. They were depth signings anyway. Left wings, and it's been a massive disappointment. Michael Bodker, only 24 points so far. Whether we decide to go for the cup or blow it up, we could get rid of him either way. Matt Reed, 23 points as a third, fourth line guy. He's been a solid acquisition. Jason Chimera, 21 points as a fourth liner. Matt Calvert, really struggling. I tried to give him some games in this most recent sim. He's not cutting it. We can trade him, or hope to trade him. I imagine his trade value is pretty low in the AHL. Lierre's doing really well, 34 points. He's up to a 77. Anton Bleed at a 77, 24 points. And Kamara, a potential fourth liner, 22 points. So again, I'm sure you guys can see where my concern is in terms of trading away some of these prospects, because they do look like they're really going to pan out and can easily replace people like Bodker and be just as productive, if not more, if we just actually give them the time to progress. But again, it's up to you. I want to know what we have to do. But first, let's cover centers. And of course, it's Joe Thornton right now on the left wing, 45 points. He's been a solid acquisition. Not too bad. David Krejci up to 34 points. Not quite where we want him, but still not too bad. When his other two line mates, Thornton and Vrbata, are both over 40, though, you kind of want to see a little bit better. Bergeron at 33. Brian Boyle on the fourth line, 23 points. And then from there, it gets a little bit worse. Ryan Spooner, only 15 points. He's been a massive disappointment. And Alex Kokochev, not doing too bad, 12 points in 26 games. If we blow it up and he was playing on the first or second line, he might be able to properly produce. And then there's the big gun down in the AHL, Austin Czarnik, up to an 82 overall. He just continues to progress. 42 points and a +20 in 56 games. Frankie Vetrano up to a 76 as well with 38 points. Phillips to a 77. He has 27 points. So the AHL roster, and Noel Asiari, who I didn't even notice until just now, up to a 78 himself. The AHL squad, these prospects are making a lot of progress, and that's what makes the decision tough. So if you made it to the end of this episode, truly I appreciate it. But again, I want to give you guys as much info as I possibly can to help you be more involved and to make the series as interactive as I possibly can. So the choice is yours. Answer back as soon as you can, because again, I want to make these uploads that much more consistent. Do we blow this team up? Get rid of the, essentially, I don't want to call them dead weight, but get rid of the older guys like Thornton, like Bodker, like Verbata, who could probably fetch a pretty penny with how well he's doing. Maybe even trade David Krejci or Tuukka Rask. Jason Demers is a big question mark. Let me know down in the comments below what you think we should do. If you've enjoyed this episode, leave a like as always, subscribe for more, and I will see you all next time when we figure out once again at the trade deadline what the fate of this team will be.